Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening. Folks, thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 22nd of August, year of our Lord 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Moto Noah. Got a nice show for you guys today. The last two emails that got sent in to us were about football, about quarterbacks specifically. Two emails back-to-back that were about quarterbacks, and so they're actually going to flow really nice together. And I figure we are about 2 weeks away from, I think 2 weeks from the day that I'm taping this, the Eagles kicking off the season in Philadelphia and like raising the banner or whatever. It's going to be miserable. I'm going to hate it. I'm not going to have fun watching that, but a lot of you out there watching this and listening to this will have fun with that, especially because it was at Kansas City's expense, which is actually what one of the emails are going to be talking about. So I figured it's probably a good time for us to actually start talking about ball, like real ball. I think the ball that reigns supreme over all other ball here in the United States. At the end of the day, this is technically an NBA podcast and sort of just it's evolved into something greater than just an NBA podcast, but that is sort of the focus of this show. But in my head, it's a football podcast. It's a football show. And during the off season, I kind of just, because I have such bad imposter syndrome about the Lions, I kind of just try not to talk about it. But we don't have to talk about the Lions here because you guys want to talk about other things. But we are going to do some football here up at the top. So copinghour@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. So let's do this first one from Cooper. Cooper, welcome back to the show. Haven't heard from him in a while. I believe an Eagles fan, too. Maybe that's in the email and I just forgot. I believe he's a Philly fan. Haven't heard from him in a while. Cooper, definitely taking a summer vacation from emailing into the show. Now, this is a very long one, and so it's going to be one of those emails that I just respond to it while we're reading it instead of just doing it all at the end, because I think there's a lot in here that I want to get to. So, Cooper, welcome back to the show, brother. Subject line, is Patrick Mahomes on early 2000s Brady watch? Hey, Nick, had a thought earlier. Patrick Mahomes is one playoff loss to either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen away from losing his crown as the clear-cut best QB in the league. Lamar and Josh Allen are both coming off of an MVP season and the second consecutive season where they were both, without discussion, more individually impressive than Mahomes. If either of them get a ring this year, hell, if either of them get past Kansas City in the playoffs, the torch is as good as passed. This feels a lot like where things were at where things were at with Brady versus Manning discussions in like 2005, when Peyton was so much individually better than Brady, but Brady had 3 rings to Peyton's 0. So you just sort of had to roll over and pretend that he was actually 3 rings better than Manning. In fairness, Manning also had several complete disastrous meltdowns in the playoffs behind the likes of any playoff quote-unquote choke by either Lamar or Josh Allen thus far. Well, Lamar, to break it for the first time, Lamar has had some stinkers in the playoffs. That has been a thing that's happened. Where they just get inexplicably bounced, whether it's by Kansas City or not. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head like what the track record has been since Lamar has been their guy, whether it was before they paid him or since they've paid him. But I do want to. Okay, so if either of them get a ring this year, either of them meaning Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, or if either of them beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, then the torch is as good as passed. I'm curious. I don't know if this was on purpose you left him out here. Does Joe Burrow not count? Because Joe Burrow has beaten him in the playoffs. That was a real thing that happened. It was in Arrowhead, and then I think that was the AFC Championship game, and then the Bengals went to the damn Super Bowl. And then, can somebody remind me who the Bengals lost to that year? It was Matthew Stafford, by the way. It's Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. They lost in the Super Bowl to the Rams, and specifically to Matthew Stafford. We don't really include Joe Burrow in this because he hasn't won an MVP. And a couple of weeks ago, when we were doing a mental exercise of, who is the Luka Doncic of the NFL in terms of like, if this quarterback got traded, it would blow our minds the exact same way. I kind of just botched the setup there, but the root of it was that, and then the answer that you guys supplied was it has to be Joe Burrow because it's a guy who has repeatedly been in the MVP conversation. Despite the fact that he's never won one, he went to a Super Bowl and lost the same way that Luka Doncic went to a NBA Finals and then lost to like a complete buzzsaw of a team. That Rams offense that year was really, really special. I'd argue their defense is better now than it was during the... is that true? Had Jalen Ramsey gotten traded? I don't think Jalen Ramsey was on that Super Bowl team. Wasn't he already in Miami? I don't remember that off the top of my head. But They had Aaron Donald, and then why was like Leonard Floyd on that team? I can't remember anybody else that was on that defense, but I know their offense was really, really good, right? That was back when like Cam Akers was actually fine. And since then, people always try to sell you on Cam Akers, and it's never actually a real thing. People also forget in that Super Bowl, by the way, that first half, there was a chance that OBJ was like gonna win the Super Bowl MVP. He was really, really good. And then by extension of that, you have to consider the guy who was actually distributing the ball and getting it to him, which again, for those who don't remember, was Matthew Stafford. So where was I going with this? Well, I don't know. It's funny that we just don't, like, the four horsemen of the NFL quarterback apocalypse right now are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. Somewhere right beyond that is Justin Herbert. Either you're somebody who overrates the hell out of him or you underrate the hell out of him. It doesn't really seem like there's a healthy middle. If you're Jim Harbaugh, you think he's the best quarterback that's literally ever existed, ever. But the numbers that he's put up, similar to, well, I was going to say the numbers he's put up with nothing. And I was going to say, just like Joe Burrow. Well, Joe Burrow's problem isn't that he doesn't have weapons, is that he doesn't have anybody blocking for him, and that he also doesn't have anybody on the defense. And so Joe Burrow is just never off of the field for more than 5 minutes, right? If Lamar or Josh Allen knock Patrick Mahomes off, I do agree with you that narratively people will say that the torch has been passed, because despite Kansas City's dominance in the last, well, since the turn of the decade, basically, it's been neck and neck. It's been really close. And then when you accompany that, which you did point out here, with like numbers wise, the fact that Mahomes has been like down and down and down, well, I would argue that that's because, I mean, it's not just that they lost Tyreek Hill. It's also that Travis Kelce is just kind of getting older, and his body just is kind of, he had a quote recently where he was like, I think maybe all of my off the field stuff has kind of been a little bit of a distraction and like has impeded my ability to effectively play football. And I'm like, maybe it has, but also, dude, you play one of the more physical positions in the game and you're in your mid-30s. So, like, this is sort of just the natural progression of a guy who has been in the league for a long time and, again, plays a super physical position and plays a super physical brand of football. And I don't know, maybe it's hard to acknowledge that your body is quitting on you, which I'm not saying his body's quitting on him. Like, Matthew Stafford is a guy that guy is one sack away from it being completely over. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of memes right now that Matthew Stafford actually died, and there's a replacement. McVay lied, Stafford died type shit. You know what I mean? He had a slip disc in his back like 2 weeks ago, and he's already back at practice. I'm like, he's 40 years old. How is he just like fine from a slip disc? Whatever. That's Matthew Stafford. Honestly, in a nutshell, is just his toughness. But I don't know. I think, despite the fact that he's had like less and less to throw to, Hollywood Brown missed a bunch of time last year. Juju does not count as anything anymore. He hasn't counted as anything since Pittsburgh. And I would argue even then, at the tail end of that, once, TikTok became a thing, he was kind of a wash. He was a zero, right? Who else is there? Mecole Hardman. Well, they don't win that Super Bowl against San Francisco a year or two ago without Mecole Hardman, right? Who else is there? I don't know. Out of the backfield, he's got Checo. Checo's fun. He's like Priest Holmes and Jamal Charles. I don't know. That's kind of a weird. I guess I sort of just wanted to do a little hat tip to Priest Holmes and Jamal Charles. He's not really like either of them. I guess he is like Jamal Charles in the fact that he's quick, and he's like Priest Holmes in the fact that he's like a bulldozer, right? Especially for being a little guy. I don't remember if Priest Holmes was a little guy. I don't remember his measurements. I feel like he weighed a lot though. Like Priest Holmes might have been like 220 or something, and Checo is not 220. There's no way. But he's a really good pass catcher out of the backfield, and so that's been nice. There's a receiver that I'm not remembering. Oh, Xavier Worthy. Yeah, that's just worked. He had some pretty big-time knucklehead moments last year, but it's just been offensively kind of weird. And I do think when you take out the Tyreek Hill piece of everything, and he can't just bomb the ball, you know what I mean? Blake Bell is a guy that's like been on the team. I don't know. So yeah, his numbers have been down like pretty big time. But then you could also use the same argument, by the way, for like Josh Allen, who, I don't know, Shakir is a good receiver. Keon Coleman had a good year last year. Spartan Dog. Do not recognize the fact that he went to Florida State, despite the fact that he was technically better there. That's a Spartan Dog. Dalton Kincaid. Who's the other tight end that I'm not thinking of right? Oh, this is embarrassing. It's Dalton Kincaid and who? Dawson Knox? Yeah. He's got weapons. James Cook out of the backfield. He's got weapons. Shut up, Nick. He's got plenty to throw around there. I don't know why in my head it feels like he hasn't. And then Lamar. I got to tell you something about Lamar. I'm really not trying to just not read your email, but you're just getting the gears spinning here. Can I tell you something about Lamar? I think he might be my favorite. To me, watching Lamar is similar to watching Giannis in the sense that there's a physicality to the way that they play. Or physicality is not the right word. It is for Giannis because he plays very physical. There's an athleticism to it where you can, I don't know, you can put a spy on Lamar and you can take away his first read, but he can still get you a first down. When I think about mobile quarterbacks who in the past, if you do exactly what I just said and you take away their first read and you put a spy on them as a quarterback, right? It completely derails their career. The first guy that comes to mind is Colin Kaepernick. That was kind of what ended up being the turning point for his time in San Francisco and ipso facto his time in the league. If you ignore all of the blackballing shit and the fact that he was kicked out of the league and then, nobody wanted to give him the time of day. Well, he was such a tricky case where two things can be true. Yes, he was blackballed, but also the last year or two, post Super Bowl run. Yeah, man, if you put a spy on him and you took his first read away, that's a 7-yard loss, or it was a pick going the other way, or it was, he was throwing the ball out of bounds. He's just getting rid of it. So there was a point in his career where it was kind of all right, we figured you out, and it was really, really fun when you were really, really good. But the fact that for 5 years, people were like, he could still play in the NFL. Physically, yes, he probably could have still played in the NFL. But ability-wise, I don't know. I think once we realized what it was with him, we kind of realized what it was. I just think Lamar is so supremely talented, and I think good for the Ravens for paying him what they owed him. And then he immediately followed that contract up, that extension up, with winning a damn MVP. And so, it does stink for guys like him or for guys like Josh Allen that, we live in this age where if you're not winning Super Bowls the way that Patrick Mahomes is winning Super Bowls, then we kind of just view you a little bit differently. But it is difficult with two guys like that, with Josh Allen and Lamar. And we can throw Burrow in here if you want, even though he hasn't won any MVPs, where we are able to identify just how talented you are. And every single time that any combination of those teams plays Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, it is must-see TV because it's going to feed narratives for weeks. I think unequivocally the best matchup in football right now for the sake of stakes and for narrative is Kansas City versus Buffalo. I just don't think there's anything better than that. And that's always just going to go back to the 13-second game, right, where the Bills score in Arrowhead, and then I swear it was 13 seconds on the clock, and they go down as Tyreek Hill. There you go. It's Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and Kansas City forces overtime, and then that was also the game that was the final nail in the coffin on the whole, hey, only one team can get the ball in overtime, and that's a real thing that can happen, and it really stinks. And then they changed that rule just for the postseason. And then was it this year? Is it this season that for the first time, or was it last season for the first time, that the whole both teams get the ball in overtime is a thing unless you score a touchdown first? I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't remember off the top of my head. But that game specifically, a couple years ago, changed so much about how overtime plays out in the NFL, right? And so those two quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, I think it's them. And then if that's 1A and 1B, I think, is it 1C is Lamar Jackson, or is it 2A is Lamar Jackson? Or just 2, flat 2 is Lamar, 3 is Joe Burrow, and those are the 4 guys that that's the measuring stick right now, is those 4 guys. So let's get back to your email. When it was said and done, and Brady and Peyton, Brady retired with 7 rings to Peyton's 2. Brady is considered the GOAT in part because of the unattainable level of championship hardware, but also because he stopped dicking around and started having dominant individual seasons. I'm worried that, to break it for 1 second, as a 100-year-old, and for a guy whose brain was so damaged that he literally he didn't have feeling in his fingertips, that's why he was wearing gloves in Denver, Peyton Manning threw 50-something, 56, 52? 50 some odd touchdowns in a season and broke that record. And like they had one of the best offenses like ever. And then as a guy who literally couldn't feel his hands, quarterbacked a Super Bowl winning team. Like, yeah, Brady was 43 years old when he won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. But you talk about having great individual seasons. Well, one of Peyton's last, when he was literally on his last leg because he didn't have any hands, he put up one of the best offensive seasons that a quarterback ever has. I totally get what you're saying, though. So let's get back to it. I'm worried that Mahomes is having a Benjamin Button version of Brady's career, a career where he starts off with insane individual seasons and then he ages into the 2000-2005 Brady archetype, who sort of just picks his nose on the sideline for 3 quarters and then goes on a 35-yard field goal drive to win 16-14. This is the kind of thing that has him on pretty thin ice in this conversation. Mahomes took the crown of best QB in football as a hero, the quote-unquote anti-Brady of sorts. The fans completely adored the guy. Endless highlights and must-see TV. Now, in the eyes of 31 NFL fan bases, the magic is gone. Patrick Mahomes was damn near appointment television for a few years, and now people roll their eyes when they hear about how many primetime games the Chiefs soak up. Now, to break the email again, you are completely right about this. And this was the point that we were talking about basically all of last season, right? Where it's like, it's so crazy to me that if 3 years ago, people loved Patrick Mahomes because he was the new shiny toy. He was the new exciting thing. It was this guy who was the, you call him the anti-Tom Brady. I don't think that's like really true if you like dug too deep into it. But I, again, completely get what you're saying in the sense that here's this quarterback who has been around for 20 years and he has won every single damn Super Bowl that you can possibly win. And now here's this new guy who came out of Texas Tech that nobody really believed in. And then he played this really absurd brand of football and turned the Kansas City Chiefs into a powerhouse. And then even, I was going to say beat Brady in that. No, when Brady was with the Patriots, they beat Kansas City in Arrowhead in I think it was the AFC Championship game because of like an offsides penalty. That was like basically the reason that they, Brady drew whoever it was offside and New England ended up winning that game. But then they did match up in the Super Bowl. Oh my God. And that's right. And then Brady beat Mahomes again. And damn it. And so I think people were that's how it happened. Yeah, that has to be how it happened. Brady and the Bucks beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Yes, that is how that happened. Yes. And so, damn it. He's going to get him eventually. And then I don't know, once you win 3 damn Super Bowls in your first like 6 years, whatever it was for Mahomes, and you think about Tom Brady, who had just exited the NFL and winning 7 championships, you think about this unobtainable level of championship hardware. Well, it seemed pretty clear immediately that Mahomes was on that trajectory because he was / still is, right? And how quickly people turn on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of it has to do with shit that isn't even about football. It's like the oversaturation of their identity through like State Farm commercials. Because when you're watching an NFL game, you're watching the Kansas City Chiefs play on Peacock, and then Mike Tirico's like, "I will be right back after this quick TV timeout," and they cut to a damn State Farm commercial with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Fumblerooski Andy Reid, right? And that happens 15 times a game for however many games that you're watching throughout the day. Yeah, people start to get rubbed the wrong way by it, even if the commercials are funny, which they all are. They're all funny commercials. It's been hard to escape them. And there's a reason for that. But let's get back to your email. Another important thing here is our last look at Mahomes was him getting a metaphorical anvil dropped on his head Looney Tunes style by the Eagles for 3 straight hours. Do not let the box score fool you. This game was 40-6, and Patrick Mahomes threw 150 yards and 2 TDs while Nick Sirianni was already soaked in celebratory Gatorade. I've been a sports fan for 12 years, and I never believed in stat padding until that night. A display of shameless stat padding that can only be explained by biblical levels of pride or gambling. Mahomes' metaphorical throne is as vulnerable as it has ever been. Lucky for him or anyone who cares about an arbitrary ranking, he still holds it, and therefore still has control over whether or not he keeps it. Maybe that absolute snuff film of a Super Bowl beatdown will be the wake-up call to him / the Chiefs that he can't just go on autopilot until February. If Lamar, Josh, and Pat all have similar seasons to their 2024 seasons, and anyone but the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, I don't see how we can keep pretending Mahomes deserves the top spot. By the way, and this is just flat out hater shit, did you know that those cocky losers had a camera crew following them around all year to capture the three-peat just to do nothing entertaining once the entire season and then lose the Super Bowl by an amount of points scientists previously thought was impossible? It dropped on Disney Plus a week ago, and not even one person cares. Hilarious stuff. LARPing as the Patriots. Fucking dorks. You know what? That is just complete dumpster hater shit. That's all that is. Can you believe these dorks had a camera crew following them around? Yeah, no shit, brother. They were in pursuit of a three-peat. That doesn't happen in football. Wasn't that the whole thing? How many times has that happened in football? Like once? Did the Cowboys three-peat? Someone's three-peated before. The Bills reverse four-peated. Winning 3 Super Bowls in a row? Yeah, dog, of course they had a fucking camera crew following them around. Is it funny that they did spend the entire season just kind of like accidentally-ing their way into wins? Yes. They didn't really have, I think the Denver game, I think it was Denver, was maybe the most interesting win that they had because they blocked a field goal to win the game or an extra point or whatever it was. That was fun. I think that was to stay undefeated too. And then there was a game late in the season, I think it was on December 21st, because it was Maddie and I's anniversary, so that's why I'm able to pull that date. I think it was at the game that they were playing the Raiders, and the refs won the game at the end for whatever reason. I don't remember what it was. I think, was AOC the quarterback, or was it Gardner Minshew? Wasn't there something about I don't remember what the call was that people were upset about, but then I think what ended up happening was it was one of those situations where if it was Aiden O'Connell that was the quarterback in that situation, wasn't he like in the gun? And it was just one of those instances of this. It was miscommunication. Ball got snapped before he was ready, got bounced off of him, and then the Chiefs recovered, something like that. But there was some horse shittery that happened at the end of that game. Those are like really the only 2 moments that I could tell you that did for a fact happen. And one of them I don't even really remember what it was. That happened to the Chiefs last year. I don't even remember what their playoff run was like. They did play. Oh, that's right. The Chiefs went to Buffalo last year, I think. And wasn't that the game that Josh Allen had a disgusting touchdown run at the end of the game? Again, don't really remember what it was other than like he broke a tackle or two, maybe put a shoulder into somebody, and it was like he maybe did a spin move into the end zone. I don't remember what it was, but I remember it was freak, nasty, sick shit. And it was like, yeah, that's the MVP. And it was crazy that it was like, wow, the Bills finally got the Chiefs. They finally did it. Whoa, maybe it's in the air for the Bills this year. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. It was not. Pretty sure the Chiefs beat the Ravens in the playoffs in Baltimore. I think that happened. And then, yeah, the Super Bowl. So the camera crew capturing what really did, I don't remember if the score indicated this, but what really, no, I don't think it did. But it really felt like a worse beatdown than the Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl from a few years ago. What was that one? Like 43-8? So funny that the Broncos did get into the end zone. And then, they went for 2. We're still in this game, boys. You're down by 100 points. That was the Super Bowl that the first play of the game was a snap over Peyton Manning's head because he went up to the line to like change a protection or something. Center snaps the ball, flies over his head into the back of the end zone. The first play of the game was a damn safety. There's been an anecdote that's floated around for years since the morning after that game that Mark Cuban had a bet that the first play was going to be a safety. Has anybody ever verified if that's true? I've always heard that. I've never known if that was actually true. That was a brutal game. Somehow this one did feel worse. Because to your point, yeah, the whole year, the Chiefs were winning games, and their record would suggest that they were the best team in football. But by every conceivable metric that was not the wins and loss record, they were not. They were like the 10th best team in football. They just won a lot of games at the end. That was kind of it. But that matters, right? Like that still matters. If you're able to pull out these wins and invent new ways to win every single week, that's not nothing. And that magic, that voodoo does still matter. But when you had this team on the opposite side, and this, I hate to say this, but a team that was very supremely talented and more talented than Kansas City was on both sides of the ball last year, which I'm not trying to present that as a hot take. I'm saying I hate to say that because it's Philadelphia, and you know what I mean? I don't know. Listen, a pick six in the Super Bowl is something that you don't live through that much. It doesn't happen that often. I don't even think, off the top of my head, I don't think that the Seahawks had one in that blowout of the Broncos. The one before... So where I'm going with this is like, it's one of those moments when a dude is running back an interception in the Super Bowl, you're immediately able to identify it as like, this is history. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. And the fact that it was Cooper DeJean, holy shit, that rocks. That rocks. Because, like, for as much as I don't like Philadelphia, it has nothing to do with the guys that play on their team. There's nobody on the Eagles that I don't like. Love Cooper DeJean. I loved him in Iowa, too. Cooper DeJean, as a return man at Iowa, was some real sick, freak, nasty shit, honestly. Blankenship, love him. A.J. Brown, love him. Jalen, come on, bro. Saquon, come on, bro. Devontae Smith, come on, bro. Like, we could do this all day. I could go up and down the roster. I love all of these guys. Nolan Smith, come on. Fletcher Cox, what are we talking about here? Love all of these guys. Hate Nick Sirianni. Love all of the players. So where is I going with this? Cooper DeJean having an interception return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl on Patrick Mahomes was probably the closest that I'll ever feel to, like, Black Panther. To, like, holy shit, this is what it felt like. This had to have been what it felt like to be in that movie theater during, like, Wakanda Forever and shit like that. Like, during Black History Month, too, by the way, that Cooper DeJean had that in it, which was the joke of the week at the time that it happened. But that shit rocked. Probably never going to see that ever again. What was the last pick six in the Super Bowl before that one? I think the Falcons had one on Brady, didn't they? I swear they did. That might have been like what made it 28-3. But that was they definitely did. They definitely had, was that a strip sack? It might have been a strip sack. If it wasn't that, which I think it was, if it wasn't that game, then was it Tracy Porter? Was he the last one? You talk about Peyton Manning and getting bitched in the Super Bowl. Although that didn't happen very often. He was what? He went to 3 Super Bowls, and that's the only one that he lost. So I can't say that he got bitched in the Super Bowl. And that was a really talented Saints team. And they had the balls to onside kick it when the second half started, which you can't, a surprise attack, which you can't even do anymore because with the new kickoff, you have to declare when you're doing an onside kick. That stinks. So yeah, the pick sixes in the Super Bowl definitely doesn't happen. And it was just such a demoralizing game to watch. For me, because I wanted Kansas City to win, because I wanted the three-peat, because I wanted the history of it. But even if you were detached from both teams and you were just wearing your NFL logo hat for the day, like Rob Lowe style, and you just wanted a good game, and for like the Kendrick halftime show to be awesome, well, you got one of those things. Because that game was brutal, and it was not fun to watch unless you were an Eagles fan. And just watching them, like watching DeAndre Hopkins have a ball hit the center of his hands, and if D-Hop is dropping the ball, they're fucked. It's not going to happen. And it didn't. It didn't. You really felt in your heart, like up until maybe the third quarter, no matter what the score was, you're like, yeah, but it's Mahomes, and yeah, but it's Kansas City, and like they've dug themselves out of worse holes. And looking back on it, it's like, no, that was a pretty bad hole, but living through it in real time, I think maybe part of it was just cope. So at the end here, you did include... Last thing, Coping Hour episode idea. You open up invitations for Coping Hour constituents to argue against what they believe is your quote-unquote worst take. Feel like that would be gold. Yeah, it is a good idea. I don't think I'll ever do that because the execution of that is going to be... The editing that I would have to do for that one and paying for, like, Zoom. Ugh. Also... I gotta be honest, I can't think of that many takes that I've gotten that much pushback on. Because I'm not going to sit there and debate for 10, 15 minutes my whole spiel about loving dynasties. We've been there and we've done that. We've spent accumulatively probably like 5 episodes talking about that. So I'm not there we're not doing that take. The only take that I can think of off the top of my head that people have had a real problem with before, and that to this day sometimes, like once a month, someone will comment on this, via email, is my take about if I'm playing Starfield and I spend an hour building a ship. In my head, that's not an hour playing the game. I'm not playing the game. If I'm playing 2K or Madden, and I spend an hour changing guys' accessories and their numbers and like, you know, I'm creating a player and stuff like that. That's not an hour that I'm playing the game. I'm not playing the game. I'm setting the game up. So that's the only one that I can think of that really people have a problem with. And I don't even want to spend that much time talking about that one. So anything else, I don't know. It's a fun idea, though. It's a fun idea. Now, by the way, I don't know if that's an invitation for people to start being like, well, actually, here's the take that I disagreed with the most. Because then the comments are just going to make me feel bad. But if you want to do that, then go for it, honestly. And if there's one that I think is ridiculous enough, then maybe one day, again, I think this is a really fun idea. A coping hour town hall. I really do think that's a fun idea. But logistically, it also seems like a bit of a nightmare. Good idea, though, Cooper. Let's do another quarterback email. This one comes into us from Antonio. Subject line, the missing generation of QBs. Hey, Nick, longtime listener, many-time emailer. I was just thinking about how there's a weird gap in age for NFL quarterbacks. You have a decrepit old Aaron Rodgers at 41, then down to Stafford at 37, and then the next good QB by age is like Mahomes at 29. I know we talk about anomalies like LeBron and Brady and how they warped our perception of aging, but like, isn't it fucking weird that basically all of the QBs from 2010 to 2014 are done? Cam Newton is 36. Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, and RG3 are 35. Derek Carr is just 33. These guys are all younger than Matt Stafford, yet they feel like ancient history. Everyone knows Russ will be benched before the end of the year, and then boom, all of these guys are gone. What the fuck happened? These guys were all sick, but it feels like they just vanished and no one cares. I don't even remember Cam falling off. It just feels like he won MVP and then just appeared on the Patriots as a shell of himself. Would love to hear your opinion if you ever notice this too. P.S. Well, thank you very much. Your P.S. here is very, very kind. Yeah, so this is a little interesting thing. And CBS Sports actually had a graphic come out like a month ago about every projected starting quarterback in the NFL and how old they actually are. And so I wanted to look at it, and we'll go down the list. So, yeah, 41, Aaron Rodgers, oldest quarterback in the NFL. The second oldest is Joe Flacco at 40 years old, as of like a couple days ago, maybe a week ago. Officially named the starter for the Browns. Week 1, Joe Flacco will be the starter. Oh, my God. Good for Browns fans, I guess. The word right now, as of this taping, is that they will roster 4 quarterbacks throughout the season between Flacco, Shadur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and Kenny Pickett, while Deshaun Watson was it his ACL, whatever, who cares? But he's done. He's out for the year, I guess. So you're going to have 4 quarterbacks. Okay. It'll be by what week have the Browns played all 4 quarterbacks? Over under week 8.5. Because my head, I think it's 9. By week 9, I think all 4 quarterbacks will have played at least. Because like, I was gonna say 2 quarters. Because like, is there a game where something happens to Flacco, whatever it is, right? After that, you imagine they would go to Pickett just through virtue of experience. And then if that for 2 weeks doesn't work, does Dylan Gabriel get to start a game or vice versa with Shadur Sanders? And then at halftime, I don't think they would do a halftime thing with Dylan Gabriel or with Shadur. Because that would just fuck with their confidence. And then moving forward, what are you supposed to do? By week 9, I think all 4 I don't know. All 4 quarterbacks to have played a game, as to have played the entire game. Week 9 seems a little early. How about, does it happen this year? Maybe that's the better question, is do the Browns play all 4 quarterbacks this year for a whole game? They have to. There's no way that doesn't happen. So I'll just say, does it happen this year? Yeah. It seems like chalk, right? But that's also fucking crazy to play 4 quarterbacks in a year. But also, it's the Browns. I'm sure they've done that before. What do you think the record is for most quarterbacks that have played for the Browns in a single season? For a full game? It's got to be like 6. Didn't they just... that? I feel like that happened recently, too. Whatever. Let's keep going. So Joe Flacco at 40. Up next is Stafford at 37. Then Russ at 36. Geno Smith at 34. Dak is 32? No way. Well, that makes sense. I mean, when was he at Mississippi State? Was like 2015? Yeah, that's 10 years ago. Wow. That's wild. Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield are both 30 years old. We talked earlier about the 4 horsemen of the quarterback apocalypse. Mahomes and Josh Allen are both 29. Burrow and Lamar are both 28. Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray also 28. So the fact that Sam Darnold and Kyler Murray are the same age as Lamar and Joe Burrow is just funny to me with the way that their careers have gone. 27 is Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts. 26 is Jordan Love and Justin Fields. Now, 25 is a big crew here, and it's actually a pretty funny one. Because Trevor Lawrence is 25, Brock Purdy is 25, and Michael Penix is 25. Now, with Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence, they've been in the NFL for a couple years. Trevor Lawrence got drafted 5 years ago. He's 25. Dog, Bo Nix is 25. Well, it's funny, him and Michael Penix are the same age. They've both been in the NFL for 1 year, right? But this is the real thing. Tyler Shough, the new the rookie quarterback from Louisville, starting for the... Actually, is he starting? I don't know if that's been official yet. But this is just CBS list of projected starters, right? He's 25. And he's a rookie, and he's the same age as Trevor Lawrence, who has been in the NFL for 5 years, and he's also 25. Insanity. 24, Jaden Daniels and Bryce Young. Who's Bryce Love? Was he the Stanford running back from a few years ago? Bryce Love. That sounds right. Bryce Love. Stanford running back. Maybe. Caleb Williams, Cam Ward, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Drake May, all 23. Now, a little whoops-a-daisy here by CBS Sports because they thought that Anthony Richardson was going to be the starting quarterback, and we now know that that's not true. It's instead a way better option, which is Daniel Jones. How old is Daniel Jones? Maybe like 26? Somewhere. He's between like 25 and 27, probably. J.J. McCarthy, youngest projected starter in the NFL at 22. Anthony Richardson. Ha. Can I throw in a few more? Ha. Lamau. Raffle. Lol. Pretty funny. Pretty funny when a year ago, I spent 10 minutes being like, I don't think he's good at all. And I got fucking jumped for that. I got jumped by Colts fans. I don't even remember, hand to God, what the counter arguments were, other than they made no goddamn sense at all. Now, the truth here, if you're a Colts fan, is you're simming to next season because you're not happy about this either because Daniel Jones is going to be your quarterback. Now, the word also is we're not just starting him for 1 week. We don't want to have a short leash with him. He is the starter for the foreseeable future. Ha. I never... ever like to think that I know more than anybody. But when it comes to quarterback, you gotta believe me, man. With my own 2 eyes, when I know, I know. Anthony Richardson had fun highlights at Florida. He had great highlights at Florida, but he fucking stunk. He stunk. Because there's a lot of velocity on his passes, people are like, oh my God, he's a fucking... And because he's a mobile, physical, oh my God, he's literally Cam Newton. Yeah, if Cam Newton had no fucking idea how to protect his body, maybe that. If you were 45 minutes late to turning on a Colts game, right? For one reason or another, you missed the first quarter and a half. You will turn that game on, and you will see Anthony Richardson be 3 of 14 with 86 yards and a touchdown or 2. He'll have 3 completed passes and will have thrown a touchdown or 2. Because the motherfucker just spams buttons, and he's like, well, if I throw the ball really far, somebody might catch it. And then if they don't, I'll just run head first into a middle linebacker, and then I'll be out for 2.5 weeks. When you're a guy who does not protect your body. And listen, I'm not the guy who watches training camp footage and thinks it's gospel, but there were some very, very funny clips between him and Daniel Jones of them just like sailing on receivers, just like running routes, just doing a route tree, and they fucking can't connect with anybody. Maybe untint your visor. How about that? So you can fucking see. It's like when I have sunglasses on in an episode and I can't read an email because the sunglasses are too damn dark. Cannot fucking stand the idea that people thought that Anthony Richardson was an NFL quarterback. Because, listen, after what it was, how long has he been in the NFL? Was last year his second year? No way he was a rookie last year. He might have been. That might sound. I just think he stinks. I think people get really excited based on highlights a little bit too much. Like Drake May is a good example of a guy last year who I wasn't positive that he was going to be good, but when you saw the fact that he was able to make something out of literally nothing, and the nothing being the Patriots roster, oh, okay, maybe there's a little something here with Drake May, and I don't remember everybody that they got in the draft. Travion Henderson, that's a good weapon. I remember they got somebody on the line. I don't remember if it was a guard tag. I don't remember who they got on the line, but okay, so there's slowly... there's an offense slowly materializing around Drake May, and maybe that's what some of this is it's like, oh, Anthony Richardson has Jonathan Taylor and then Mo Alley Cox, and there's a receiver I'm not thinking of that I really like. I don't remember who is it? They should trade for like Terry McLaurin or something like that. How do you like that, Colts fans? I just don't like Anthony Richardson. I don't think he's good, and I guess I'm sad that I can't have that agenda furthered by him not starting and being like, see, he's not good. But the fact that Daniel Jones won the starting job over him maybe is evidence enough. So the reason that I spent all of that time, reading off quarterbacks and how old they actually are is because, like, I don't know, there's at least one good quarterback at every single age. Like CJ Stroud had a weird year last year, but I still think he's a good quarterback. Bo Nix was pretty damn good last year. Caleb is good. I do think he's good. Last year was kind of like it wasn't really fair, I think, to judge him too harshly when you consider the coaching staff. But I don't know. We talked about Drake May a little bit. Bryce Young at the tail end of last season really put it together for the Panthers and was really special. So we have some good quarterbacks at 23. We got Bryce Young and Jaden Daniels at 24. Those are, Jaden Daniels had one of the most impressive. You talk about RG3. Well, Jaden Daniels had one of the most impressive offensive outputs that a rookie quarterback has had since fucking RG3. So he was brilliant. At 25, we don't really know that much about Michael Penix yet, but you imagine he'll be like better than what Kirk Cousins was. Last year, by the time he was actually starting games, I'm pretty sure it didn't matter for the Falcons anymore. I don't remember what the timeline on it was, but he didn't have a full season under his belt, so it doesn't. We cannot really judge him at all yet. Bo Nix again was pretty frisky last year. Brock Purdy, one of the best point guard quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Trevor Lawrence, meh, but still good quarterbacks there. At 26, Jordan Love and Justin Fields. What a weird group that is. Justin Fields, I like him a lot, man. I just think he's so fun to watch. Because I think he's like, I don't know, him and Anthony Richardson kind of do the same dumb shit. I just think it's more fun with Justin Fields. I just think it's more, I don't know what it is. I don't know. But Justin Fields, at least he'll slide, and he won't slide headfirst into a free safety's chest. I don't know. Also, he'll put up a game where he has like 150 yards on the ground and in the air. And I don't know. When it's not against your team, it's kind of fun to watch. Jordan Love. Yeah, it's fine. He's literally fine. And that's it. That's it. End of discussion. Jordan Love is completely fine. At 27, you have Herbert, Tua, and Jalen. I'm literally just reading this fucking list again, but I'm just saying, like, at every single age, there is a quarterback or two where you're like, wow, this guy's really special. Quarterbacks from 2010 to 2014 are gone, is something that you said in your email. Yeah, dog. Because the window that you just said was 11 to 15 years ago. Yeah. And even the guys that you name, like specifically from that window, Cam Newton is 36. Yeah, he's 36. I don't know. He played a very physical brand of football from when he was at when he was in damn high school to when he was at the fucking JUCO college to when he was at Auburn and won a national championship with a team that I don't think had like a single NFL player on it. So like, yeah. And then when he was playing for the Panthers, another like just insane carry job. Who was his best receiver when they went 15-2 or 15-1? Yeah, that was when they played 16 games. So yeah, like 15-1. Like Ted Ginn? Who was his best receiver? I'm sure Greg Olsen was on that team. I'm sure he was. Yeah. Like, yep. I don't know. He was literally Superman. And then, yeah, he went to New England, and it was kind of weird. It was like the immediate years post-Brady were so wild. So wild. And then Patriots fans had to trick themselves into thinking that Mac Jones was anything other than just like a potato, but he never was going to be. And then when he went back to Carolina and had like a rushing touchdown, he was like, I'm back, which was awesome. It's really cool. The most memorable highlight from his career is probably the Clay Matthews, the famous like, oh, you've been watching film, huh? Watch this. Either that or when he just didn't jump on a fumble in the Super Bowl. People love to bring that up. That Broncos team was a buzzsaw, though. Yeah, he's 36, though. Andrew Luck, he got ahead of it. And he was like, yeah, I kind of just don't want to do this anymore. He did it at a kind of shitty time because the Colts were like, I don't know if they were Super Bowl contenders that year, but they were definitely in contention to win the AFC, which I guess by extension means that you were a Super Bowl contender. But there was a lot of juice around the Colts the preseason that Andrew Luck decided to retire when he, retired. And he's expressed some regrets about that and the timing of it. But hey, it was just how his story was meant to end. And it stinks, but we're far enough removed from it now. What was that, 6 years ago? 2019, I think that happened. Yeah, it stinks that it happened the way that it did. But yeah, Russell Wilson and RG3 are 35. Yeah, I mean, Russ, yeah. Yeah. And I think you said he's going to get benched before the end of the year. Yeah. At some point, it'll be Jackson Dart's music for sure. Or Jameis. I mean, who knows, right? It'll be fun when Jameis gets to like bullshit in a game or two this year. That'll be really fun. Keep an eye on that. RG3, another guy who just like got hurt. It's funny that you said like we've been spoiled by the way that guys are able to preserve their bodies and the way that they're able to age sort of gracefully between LeBron and between Tom Brady. But then go on to, so you acknowledge that, and then you go on to be like, but then why did these guys stop playing football at 35? Well, because by the time you're 35 and you've been getting hit in the fucking head for 15 or 20 years, most of these guys have been playing since they were kids, 20, 30 fucking years. At some point, you're kind of like, all right, I'm done doing this. So, yeah, guys from 15 years ago, no, they're not really quarterbacks. Like Matthew Stafford, another guy that's kind of an anomaly because he's just like, he's just a warrior, and he always has been. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, well, he's on drugs, so. I mean, he was taking fucking perks, like, how many years ago? Like, in 2018? When was my knee? When was that game? And his eyes were glossed over as fuck. My knee! Aaron, what happened in that injury? My knee! And he's just drugged up. But just like takes ayahuasca in the fucking locker room. He's on drugs. I don't know. How's it going to go this year with him? If he gets hit once. Like, don't be like, I don't know. Tua is another good example. I don't want to manifest this, but what happens when you know what I mean? I don't want to say the C word with him because I really don't want to put it out there. But what happens when his brain turns into complete fucking applesauce? What happens then? Are we going to be surprised that a 27-year-old is walking away from the game? No. Although it's clear at this point that no matter how many concussions he gets, he's just going to keep playing. I don't know. Maybe it's not on us to tell him that, hey, brother, maybe you should hang it up. But also when you have so many, I don't know. I don't really want to reopen the litigation into whether or not Tua should be playing football because he's had 100 concussions. And the last 2 or 3 of them, he's done the fencing response where he turns into a fucking mime. I don't know. It seems like maybe not. So I don't know. Derek Carr is just 33. That retirement did seem pretty abrupt, but that's just another guy who just was getting ahead of it. I think it was a shoulder injury that he had, that he was like, either I'm out for the entire year or I just quit. And he had a very good career. Fresno State, right? And then he had like 1 or 2 years where he was an MVP candidate for the Raiders. Yeah, great career for Derek Carr. It stinks that it ended the way that it did with him in New Orleans and it just being bad and not fun at all. But such is life in the NFL. Just kind of the way that it goes. CopingHourSubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. This one comes into us from Carlos. Carlos, welcome to the show. What's up? Hey, Nick. This is my first time writing into the show. Subject line is rooting for hot dudes in all caps. Hey, Nick, this is my first time writing into the show. I was actually inspired by Matthew from the last episode and his take on jersey numbers and how they can make a player look more cool. Me personally, I take jersey numbers very seriously. Anytime I make a roster move on franchise mode, you can bet that I'm making sure the jersey number fits the player and or his name. And let me break the email for a second because I completely agree with you. And when you're doing that, when you're spending the 3 to 5 minutes adjusting your rosters and tweaking numbers and stuff like that and changing certain players' numbers so that you can give it to the new player, you're not playing the game. That's not playing the game. You're setting the game up, okay? Let's get back to it. I especially love doing this with nicknames, like my Seahawks running back, Kenneth Walker. Shout out Michigan State. In my opinion, he has a great name and number combo, K9. Another example would be Andre Karolinko's AK-47. Yeah, 100%. I know there are tons of other great name and number combos out there, but these are just the ones that come to mind. Plus, this wasn't the purpose of the email, so let's get to the point already. I root for hot dudes. Always have, and I genuinely don't know why I think like this, but I am curious if anybody else does too. If context matters to you, I am straight, but like yourself, I have no problem, all caps, pointing out a hunk when I see one. So what do I mean when I say I root for hot dudes? Let's break the email for a second and let's unpack. Let's just unpack it, okay? All caps, I root for hot dudes, always have, and I genuinely don't know why I think like this. And then 2 sentences later, you say, if context matters to you, I am straight. Now, Carlos, let me hold your hand for a second. I believe that you are a man who only wants to have relations with women. I believe you, and I'm not going to gaslight you and say that you're gay. But I will say, I think, first of all, everybody's got it a little bit, you know? Everybody's got a little bit of that in them. You know, like me. You think I'm talking about Idris Elba just because I love his acting? He's a hunk. That's a lot of man. You know what I mean? That's a lot of dude. So everybody's got a little bit of that in them. And I think it's okay to just, you know, embrace it. It's fun. I root for hot dudes. I have no problem pointing out a hunk when I see one. But I don't know why I think like this because I'm straight. Right. Right. No, right. I hear you. I'm agreeing with you. I have nothing else to say. I completely agree with you, Carlos. So let's get back to your email. Okay, so if a player is handsome, it bumps them up by like 50% in my eyes. That's a lot, Carlos. If you just saw a guy's numbers and you're like, that looks like a good player, but then you saw his face as a straight man, by the way, you saw his face, it bumps him up by 50%. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Let's get back to it. Obviously, I know that looks don't translate into skills on the court. Like, I know Kelly Oubre isn't a better player than someone like, let's say, Brandon Ingram, but they are players I most lean towards when deciding on who my favorites are. If I got a certified baddie on my team, I just feel like we already won. Is it possible that there is like an intimidation factor there? Like, what if you have a guy on your squad that looks like Brad Pitt and hoops like KD? He's hot and he can shoot. It's just like an extra oomph, you know? This is the gayest thing anybody's ever emailed into the show. You don't got to do it under the guise of being a completely heterosexual man. You got to embrace whatever little fire you got going on in you, brother. Just embrace it. Just own it. Because it's fun and I like this for you. I really do. But you cannot tell me, listen, I'm straight, man, but there's something about these fuckers when I see them walk on a basketball court, they got a little hunk in them. Just makes me want to watch them. I like watching the pretty looking ones. I like watching them play. Something about them, I don't know. It makes me think that they're a little bit better at basketball. When that's all. I'm not gay. I just. Did you read this when you typed it? When you sent this email, did you read it? Let's get back to it. All caps. Jaylen Brown greater than sign Jason Tatum. Sorry to Jason Tatum and his Achilles, which I genuinely hate to see happen to any player, by the way. But I just like Jaylen Brown more. For one, I do think he is still underrated as a player and does a bit of everything, including great effort on defense, which I absolutely love. But also, he is just conventionally more handsome than Tatum. And that's a great take. I completely agree with you. You're right. You're right. I actually think if we're just talking about basketball, I would just say that it's Tatum. But who's the better looking guy? It's Jaylen Brown, and it's not close. Jaylen Brown might be one of the best looking guys in the NBA. He's so well manicured, honestly. He has such clear skin. His the way that his facial hair is always like whoever his barber is, holy shit. Like when he was on Hot Ones, oh my God, he looked like fucking Blade, bro. Like he looked so good. And I've literally nothing to. You're completely right. I would even say like Kelly Oubre pisses me off because I just think he's a pretty boy. I don't think Jaylen Brown is a pretty boy. I just think he's a boy who's pretty. There's a complete difference there. I don't think he uses his pretty privilege. I just think he kind of be pretty. Whereas like if Jaylen Brown was ugly, I think he would still care about all of the same social causes and shit like that. I think Kelly Oubre. I think people only cared that he got hit by a car because he's good looking. That's the the ring footage of him, the ring camera footage of him coming home. And he's like, I just got hit by a car. So fucking funny. TMZ acquiring that footage. The fuck? Pretty bizarre. I just think he's a pretty boy, and that just pisses me off. I don't like that. It's annoying to me. Jaylen Brown, though. It's a lot of man. Okay, as I'm writing this, maybe that's not the best example. No, it is a good example. The Jaylen Brown thing is a good example. But I'm not backtracking on that take. But it's also not one that I'm willing to die on a hill for. So here we go. Trae Young, very talented offensive player. I get it. But ever since that photo of a lollipop with hair popped up on the internet, I can't help but think he's fugly. If I was playing 2K and I'm building a roster, there is zero fucking chance I'm putting that gross little goblin on my team. Hot dudes only. Again, this is email that was sent from a straight man, but in all caps, hot dudes only. Again, I'm not saying he's not talented. Yeah, we get it, bro. But he just doesn't scream, all caps, in quotes, hubba, hubba. You know what I mean? Give me Cade. Give me Steph. Give me Dame. I would sign Andrew Nembhard just because he looks like, quote, an actor playing a basketball player. Like in Coach Carter or something like that. God damn, this is a long fucking email, bro. In saying all of this, I still have standards. You can't be a pretty boy scrub and expect me to like you. Like, you gotta give me something to root for, even if you're not putting up numbers. I call this the Justice Winslow scale. Good-looking fella, didn't have a bag, but he could contribute off of the bench with defensive playmaking. I remember growing up loving Shannon Brown, also Michigan State, yeah. Because he kind of looked like Chris Brown. Whoa, yeah, he kind of did. Yeah, a little bit. I haven't seen a picture of Shannon Brown in a while, but off the top of my head, yeah, there's a little bit of something there. But also, bro had some jump out of the gym sort of ability. Check the tape. 100% right, dude. Athlete. SportsCenter top 10 highlights type potential, and this is a hill I am willing to die on. You know what? You say Justice Winslow, and you talk about, listen, you can't just be a pretty boy in the NBA, and you got to give me a little something. You know what I mean? You can't give me nothing. You can't just be a pretty face, and that's not it. How about Kyle Lowry? Does he have a little something that you're interested in? Sounds like maybe. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about what he does on the floor. Rather, maybe what protects him when he goes down to the floor. Is that the little something? Listen, it's one thing if you're going to be a pretty boy in the NBA, but you got to give me a little something like Kyle Lowry. And then you don't elaborate on it. But listen, this comes from a straight man. I'm just saying. Talk about backing my case up. If I can back up my case. This is a very long email, so let's just get back to it. To give you another example, sure, let's just, because we don't get what you're saying yet. We're not there yet. We need another example. Now, listen, I'm just going to move ahead here. This is an aside. You can read if you want to. This is at the end of the email. But for some reason, I also love to root for any players that have famous parents or a dad who played in the league. Gary Payton II, Luke Walton there, and Larry Nance Jr. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the story there. I just like it. And if they play for the same team that their relative played for, oh my God. Don't even get... This is so gay. Oh my God is literally what you typed here. I have fully convinced myself that Arch Manning is going to be a Saint, Colt, or Giant because of this exact reason. Yeah, probably, but that's also just because they're the worst teams in the NFL, and they're going to have a chance at drafting Arch Manning. So anyways, Nick, do you also feel that hotness in some way influences your fandom of certain players? Thanks. Love the show. And then at the end, you said hashtag bring the Sonics back. Hotness influences everything that I do. I mean, ever. Not just the players that I root for. It influenced... Well, no. I mean, this is true. It influenced who I had a child with. I think Maddie is like... which is good. Because I had a kid with her. But, you know, it just... I don't know. It drives everything. I mean, obviously, I'm attracted to her. But the fact that... Like, I'm enamored that I got to have a kid with a woman who looks the way that she does. That's fucking crazy to me. You know, like, I don't know how to say this. Like, listen, so many of you have sent in pictures of you and your... I don't know how to say this. A lot of you out there will know what it's like to outkick your coverage. Where you're like, I don't know how I ended up with a baddie. You know? And I think some people, we got an email about this like maybe a month ago or something. I didn't read it because I just, but it was like the age old, hey, I started dating this girl and she's like way out of my league, but I don't like the things that she posts on Instagram. And you know what I'm talking about, you know. And I didn't want to respond to it just because all I was going to say was like, everybody wants a baddie until they start doing baddie shit. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, bro, like, how did you find out about her? Did you probably from her fucking Instagram? And then when she just like kept, well, but why does she need attention from anybody else? Well, I don't know. It's just because she likes the pictures and she likes how she looks in the pictures. And I don't know if, and in some instances, it's like, dog, if you looked like that, you'd probably post the same shit. You know what I mean? If I looked like Maddie, because she in the past, you know, she's done a bunch of modeling and shit like that. And yeah, there have been like some, I don't know, pictures on the internet, like on her Instagram where it's like, oh, whoa, that's a lot. Whoa. But I'm just kind of like, yeah, she looks fucking awesome. And guess what? Bagged. Suck on that. It was not fun when I was in high school because she was older than me. I was a sophomore and she was a senior. And so, like, the people who are in her grade or even the grade in between us would, like, fucking bully me because they couldn't have her. And because I was a little dumbass sophomore and I got her and she was, like, a insane baddie. And I was like, yeah. Suck it. So I'm saying all this just to say, like, yeah, dog, it influences everything. I don't know. The amount of, I'm not going to say, yeah. NBA players, I guess. Yeah, I guess there are guys that I like just because they're good looking, but like Shea, oh my God. Whoa. I wish Donovan Mitchell could play in his glasses because he looks so damn good in his glasses. I don't know. I just am so, I love that straight guy who sent that in, by the way, completely straight, has never questioned anything before. It's okay. It's okay to question it. It's okay to have that reflection and to think, what am I? You know, you don't have to put a label on yourself. I'm not saying this to you, bro. I'm just saying this to anybody who needs to hear it. You know, people get so quick to put themselves in a box. Oh, I'm bisexual. I'm gay. I'm pansexual, you know. Not to be all like, love is love, and, you know, you could be whatever you want to be. Well, but in some ways, you know. Why don't you just, like, figure out what you like, and then you don't have to... Because if you're like, well, I'm bisexual, and then you find out that you only... And you're a man, and you like... And then you find out that you actually only like being with guys. And then you're like, well, I guess I am actually gay. It doesn't matter what you are. I don't know. You just... I don't... I don't know. I think labels, and they just confuse people. And so and maybe you'll spend 5 years just like hanging out with dudes, and then one day you'll just like see a chick and you're like, whoa, bazoinga, and your fucking eyes pop out of your head like a damn Looney Tunes character. Awooga! Steam blows out of your ears, and now you're not gay anymore. Now you're back to being bi, but you spent 5 years being like, well, I'm a homosexual. Sort of just inventing a guy here, but I don't know. People struggle with this shit, and I've experienced it with like close people in my life where they just like they get so much anxiety about like feeling fraudulent because they aren't part of I'm not really the person to communicate this, but I think to circle it back to something I said earlier, nobody is 100% straight. They're not. And so I think if we embrace that, like, remember when the RNC happened in Milwaukee last year and Grindr fucking crashed? Because, like, the servers just, like, could not handle all of the traffic from people who were like, oh, well, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. All those people fucking gathered in Milwaukee, and then we're trying to, like, get some understall foot tapping action. Cruising in the local fucking whatever. Whoops. Hey, I'm visiting from Arkansas. I'm here for the Republican National Convention. Would you like to have some anonymous, unprotected gay sex? They couldn't because Grindr crashed. Because it crashed. So the people who... And then it's also the same... We don't need to keep fucking talking about this. Just be gay, bro. It's okay. It's so fine. It's fine. Just be whatever you want. Be with whoever you want to be with. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Let's do this one. From John. John, what's up? Welcome to the show, brother. Subject line, the Irish diaspora, don't know what this word is, and its consequences. Hi, Nick. Long-time listener since episode 26. First-time emailer. Don't know if people divide the emails like this often. Yeah, the way you sent this in is how people email, brother. So, for context, I am a 19-year-old white male named John from Cork, the second largest city in Ireland, and I study government and political science. Political silence? And I study political silence. No, that's not what you said. You said political science. At UCC, the second largest university in Ireland. Saying that, relative to my peers, which are for the most part semi-well-read women who like to say things like, well, the literate would suggest that X, and like the idea of activism, but ultimately their biggest exposure to the working class was their ex that their dad didn't like, or else center-right farmers from the Midlands of Ireland who have extremely nuanced and educated view on local politics but couldn't tell you which continent Syria belongs to. I am rather... Can I break it for a second? What the fuck was that, bro? What was that? I don't know what you're trying to say. Are you saying that the girls are, like, superficial and that their experience is actually more zoomed in than yours? And they think of it as being zoomed out? I was a little confused, but it didn't sound like you were being nice. It's a little over my head there. Let's get back to your email. I'm rather conservative, and I have found it hard to relate to many more left-wing people in debate through my course and more generally in life, because I often don't feel that they're being intellectually honest and that they're forming their opinions based on the popular belief in Irish urban society and the wider urban European landscape. I say all of this to say that while I still disagree with you on many issues, I do respect your beliefs, and my time watching your podcast for the NBA segments quickly evolved into a bi-weekly dose of Humanizing the Left. Particularly since the birth of your child and your highlighting of you being a stay-at-home father, something that would be frowned upon by most, even in the most progressive landscape of Ireland today, due likely to the remnants of the Catholic Church. I realized how much I had come to understand and appreciate your role as a homemaker, as one might say. After the Gregory email, I found myself subconsciously building a dislike to the stranger that I may have agreed with a year ago. So thanks for contributing to my political and general maturity, Nick. And then parenthetically, you said, oh, shut the fuck up. You said, by the way, France uses the euro, not francs, and they have done for like 30 years with a facepalm emoji. I gotta fucking tell you, so many of you fuckers wanted to call me out for that. Listen, the reason I said French francs was because the conversion thing I was looking at said French francs. They could use fucking Monopoly money. I don't care. I was astonished at how many people, well, actually, they haven't used the French franc in 30 years and they use the euro. Didn't I say, what did they use the euro? And then I was like, oh, it says French franc. So I said French franc. I don't care. They could use fucking Starbucks lids for money. It doesn't matter. Their economy is in the fucking toilet. I don't care. I wasn't supposed to read any of that. Well, it said at the top, for you. And I was like, all right, I'll read this. And then next it says, for the show. Well, you didn't say anything that was that crazy in there. But I actually do think it was interesting perspective that your verbiage of humanizing the left. I feel a little bit rude that I read all of that now. But again, you didn't say anything that was bad. And is maybe interesting. I just, maybe I'll unpack the first part of what she said. So you started watching because of the NBA segments and then humanizing the left. I don't know. The way that the first part of this email did read was a little bit like, I'm 19 years old and my lived experience is the only experience and anybody else who disagrees with me is actually a sheep, is kind of how this read to me. Because if you're like, the only way that people could conceivably think things that I don't believe are because they are just being hive-minded in this like broader European whatever the fuck. Yeah, how about just the fact that some people, like MAGA Jared is a good example. Him and I have different experiences with immigrants, and that's why he does not like them. And I'm just kind of like, I don't give a shit about an open border, and America is very much like a cultural melting pot, and none of us would be here if it wasn't for immigration. Oh, well, you got to come here the right way. A lot of us, I would wager, if we went and did a whole lineage thing, our ancestors did not come here the right way. It just so happens that mine did. Mine did. In the 20s, my great-grandmother came over here from England. I found her in the Ellis Island database, so it just so happens that in my case, she did come here the right way. But even if she didn't, I wouldn't care, because usually people are like fleeing an economic crisis or a humanitarian crisis, and I do believe that the United States should be a safe haven for those people, and that we should present a united front. So shit like that, right? Like everybody just like lives through different shit. Or like living on the south side of Chicago, right? It is very easy to see why somebody who is a minority in this country would be disillusioned by whatever the fuck America has going on here. Because if I drive 30 minutes north, I will see wealthy white neighborhoods where on every block there's a Walgreens, there's a CVS, people can pick up their prescriptions. There are mom and pop shops everywhere. The sidewalks are fucking painted. The weeds have been pulled out of the fucking sidewalk. Trees have been planted. They have amenities. They have luxuries. They have gyms. They have all of this stuff, right? Dog, on this side of the city, there are food deserts. They don't have any of the shit that I just named. They're lucky if they have a grocery store. Everything is a fucking corner store or fast food. So you can't go to a fucking, I don't know, a normal grocery store without driving 30 minutes, right? They do not have amenities. They don't have like schools. They don't have childcare. They don't have gyms. They don't have fucking tanning salons and nail techs and shit like that. There's nothing here. There's not like real societal infrastructure. So then it's like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? And that's how not ipso facto, but long story short, motherfuckers start selling drugs. It's because they have like nothing else to fucking do. And the city abandons them. Their local governments fucking abandon them. And then they villainize them and they don't fucking take care of the streets down here. They don't, like very literally like the parks down here. Well, the city does a good job of taking care of the parks, but I don't know, man. That's the super long story short. So like you live in the same city, but on the south side and on the west side, you're seeing the city, not the city, but like Walgreens closing 5 locations within the last few months, exclusively on the south side and on the west side. These are the parts of the city that are predominantly black. And so you have entire neighborhoods full of people who like don't have anywhere to go to pick up a medication. Right? They have to change where they go to pick up their prescription and shit like that. And so then you just bottleneck these people, and you just make it so that they have no resources. They don't have fucking anything at their disposal. But if I go 20, 30 minutes on the opposite side of the city, I can't go 2 city blocks without seeing all of the shit that people don't have down here. And it is a total, is disenchantment the right word? I don't know what it is. And so you talk about having different lived experiences. It's just so, I appreciate that I've like come through to you, I guess, and that there's been like a moment of clarity that like, hey, women aren't just incubators and they don't have to be the ones that, you know, I feel like I talk about this a lot, and in a lot of ways I think to you guys it is kind of becoming my identity that I'm just kind of a dad and that's it, which I guess right now is true, but I like that for me. And so it's just, you know, you're 19, I'm 27. You and I have lived 2 very different lives on 2 different continents. And so I'm glad that you're pursuing an education. I would say maybe just like think about people through like a more empathetic lens, maybe. For the show, as a proud Irish native, I often can't help but wonder what the image of Ireland is abroad. There are over 70 million people in the world, largely in the United States, Australia, and Great Britain, who claim Irish ancestry, which poses my question. In your experience, particularly in larger cities like LA or Chicago, do people with Irish ancestry self-identify as Irish? And secondly, would you say that in the United States today, stereotypes of Irish people are still prevalent? Namely, heavy drinkers, often go into law enforcement / construction / heavily religious. Don't know if this was any good, but couldn't think of anything better. Obligatory sports take. A healthy Jared McCain would have won Rookie of the Year, and he will be an All-Star before 2028. Who won Rookie of the Year? Was it Stephon Castle? That would have been hard to beat. Jared McCain was really good, though, so it's not inconceivable to think that you might have been right. Will be an All-Star before 2028. Before 2028? I don't know. What is he considered? I don't know what position he's considered off the top of my head. I can think of, like, so that's a tough field no matter what. But he is in the East, which helps. Maybe. To answer your question, the Irish stereotypes, heavy drinkers, yeah. Yep, that's still very much a thing. Like Guinness, just in general. Whiskey, like Jameson. Shout out to Jameson. Love me some Jameson. I don't like Guinness. I just don't like dark beers. I'll have one and then be like, that's all that I need. I don't want more than that. I just don't like how it makes me feel. Stick to my light beers. Often go into law enforcement / construction. That's an interesting one that I guess I'm a little bit blind on that one. I didn't know that one was a thing. I guess maybe it's a thing. And then, yeah, the heavily religious one. Yeah. Catholicism, the Irish love, I was gonna say they love the Catholics. Well, they love being Catholic. Yeah, I'd say that one also still rings true. Irish people, for the most part, I also do think are proud of their heritage. And, you know, St. Patrick's Day, like here in America, is a pretty big holiday, especially here in Chicago. We dye the damn river green. And there's a huge Irish population here. There's a huge Italian population here. There's a lot of Polish people here, but the Irish are definitely represented here in Chicago. And yeah, I don't know. What are some other ones? What are some other, like, what are my perceptions of Ireland? Potatoes, obviously. Wasn't the famine, the way that that's billed is like they couldn't grow anything. But wasn't it that the English stole all of the Irish's food? Always goes back to the damn English, which is me, technically. So I just, damn it, my ancestors, you stole all of the potatoes from the Irish. Shoot! The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, Brendan Gleeson. What's his name? I'm literally looking at his face. What's his name? Colin Farrell. That's his name. Barry Keoghan. I mean, he dated Sabrina Carpenter. Are you kidding me? Also, I saw talk about Barry Keoghan. The scene that he has at the end of Saltburn, where he's dancing around the house naked, and he, whoa, Barry Keoghan. Guy's got a fucking weapon. What's the woman's name in Banshees of Inisherin? Carrie something? Is it Carrie something? I don't remember. She's also brilliant. I just think that movie just sort of is Ireland. Also, the Troubles are depicted a little bit in that movie, I think. Yeah, the Troubles were funny. Like, crazy funny. A lot of people died. A lot of bombings, a lot of shootings, a lot of assassinations. Pretty wild conflict that happened. What else do we think about when we think of Ireland? Green. Not just, I don't mean green in terms of like St. Patrick's Day, but just as a country, it's very green. It's very colorful. A lot of landscape to it. There's a YouTuber that I like to watch. He's a golfer. He's a golf YouTuber. He just like plays golf video games. He's from Cork. So I am familiar with Cork, specifically because of that. Because everyone's just going to say Dublin. Yeah. Dublin. Yep. I don't know. What are some other ones? Some other things. Ireland is just kind of one of those countries that all of the stereotypes that I've ever believed about them, some that we've laid out and that you've laid out yourself, I've just kind of learned are true. I think out of all of the, like, in the United Kingdom, in my head, the Irish are the most aggressive. I would say it goes Irish, Scottish, Welsh, English, which is ironic considering the history of the English. Maybe at this point, they're most aggressive to themselves, to their wives. Domestic violence, big problem. Or to immigrants, actually, is another big one. Or if you're Keir Starmer, very aggressive to Palestinian activists. That guy's turned into fucking... We talked in the last episode about how when it comes to Zelensky, Keir Starmer puts an arm around him and he is a public-facing good guy. When it comes to supporting and funding a genocide, Keir Starmer has no time for anybody who's like, hey, what you're doing is fucked up. You just go to jail. That's what happens. You go straight to jail. Believe it or not, straight to jail if you protest Israel or the English involvement in that. I was going to say war. It's not a war. That's a thing. Yeah, the Irish seem kind of mean. Seem a little mean. The Welsh are just so damn hard to understand. I tell you what. When we went to the Premier League games that were here like a month ago, when we were leaving the stadium, we spent, for like 20 minutes, the two guys that were behind us while we were walking away from the stadium were Irish. Oh, I was so excited just listening to him talk. It's just the accent. It's just fun to listen to him. They weren't talking about anything interesting. They were talking about damn bagels the entire time. Didn't care. I was dialed, bro. I was dialed just listening to them talk about bagels for 20 minutes. But they just sounded cool. It was fun. And then eventually we broke off and I was really sad about it. But I kind of hope that answers your question. I don't know. Alcoholics. They love religion. There's gotta be like... There's like the Irish mob surely still exists. Some mobsters over there. Some sneaky mobsters over there. And that's probably going to do it. I don't know. Folks, if you're listening to this on Spotify, I got to be honest with you. I'm worried. It's been an hour 20. I'm worried my son's going to wake up any minute. And I kind of just want to, I'm at a good stopping point in the show. I hope it's okay if you want to throw in maybe some other Irish stereotypes, or if you want maybe to, I don't know. Is this a fun thing that if you're from a different country and you want the American perspective, maybe that's a fun segment that we can kind of make a recurring thing. Yeah, maybe. So if you're from a different country and if you're from England, I'm going to be like, you're my brother, you're my sister. That's you and me. That's family. And I'm only going to say nice things. I could do a damn hour on Boris Johnson. Maybe that's what I would do. Okay. Apple Podcasts. What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.